Welcome to episode 97, Prince Alwaleed Bin Talal, richest self-made billionaire in the Arab world. This is an outline of episode 97. There are three reasons why we study Prince Alwaleed. First, he has been the richest Arab self-made billionaire in the world for the past decade. Second, nicknamed Warren Buffett of Saudi Arabia, most of his investment is in the United States. Third, he's going to lead Saudi Arabia's sovereign fund in the 21st century, wielding enormous influence around the world. He was born in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia in 1955. This is a picture of the young Prince Alwaleed. Here's a picture of his grandfather from his mother's side, the first Prime Minister of Lebanon. His paternal grandfather is the famous Ibn Saud, the founder of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
In the pre-dawn hours of January 16, 1902, Ibn Saud and his warriors attacked the Riyadh fort and killed the governor. The garrison quickly surrendered, and Ibn Saud reclaimed his patrimony. But Ibn Saud wanted more than to be the ruler of a small town. He was a visionary who dreamt of uniting the constantly warring Bedouin tribes into one nation.
He said he's got two swords, a sword of steel, the one with which he conquered, and the sword of flesh, which he used once he'd conquered, and would marry the chief daughters of the tribe that he'd conquered, and thus bring that tribe physically into the union of the Saudi family.
After 20 years of conquest, in 1932, Ibn Saud united a land bigger than Western Europe and named the country Saudi Arabia after his family name, Saud.
In 1932, Abdulaziz declared himself a king and, for good measure, gave his name to the country, Saudi Arabia. To unite the kingdom, King Abdulaziz married a daughter of every tribal chief in his realm and produced 45 legitimate sons. Every Saudi king since has been a son of Abdulaziz.
Here's the meeting of King Abdulaziz with President Roosevelt in 1945.
The 70-year-old Ibn Saud goes aboard the cruiser to meet Mr. Roosevelt. In cordial conversation with Colonel Eddy as interpreter, the Saudi Arabian king and American president discuss mutual problems of trade and relations with Saudi Arabia.
At age 24, Prince Alwaleed graduated from Menlo College, California. The next year, at the age of 25, he founded Kingdom Establishment for Commerce and Trade. In 1985, he earned his Master's of Science at the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University. His most famous investment is in Citibank in 1991. He owns 5% of Citibank, which made him more than $8 billion over the years, or 40% of his net worth.
When Citigroup, then known as Citicorp, was foundering in the early 1990s, it needed money. In stepped Alwaleed Bin Talal, writing the bank a check for $590 million in 1991. Today, that stake is worth $10 billion and gives him control of about 5% of the bank. But that stock has remained fairly unchanged for the last 4 years, and we asked the prince how long he intends to let that continue.
His second most famous investment is News Corp.
The prince is known as the Arab Warren Buffett. He is a nephew of the Saudi king, but the vast bulk of his fortune is, he says, self-made. His company, Kingdom Holdings, has huge shareholdings in a wide range of businesses, including the second largest stake, after Mr. Murdoch himself, in News Corporation, the company that owns Rupert Murdoch's entire global media empire.
Another famous investment is Hotel George V in Paris, arguably the best hotel in the world. He owns 100%.
Among Alwaleed's many investments, the Georges V is particularly close to his heart, perhaps because his father used to bring him here as a child. He now owns it 100%.
Well, you know, this is a very historical hotel. This hotel has been built more than 70 years ago. Plus, when I bought it, it was really, the situation deteriorated substantially. It became almost a 3-star hotel. So once we took it, we renovated it and we invested in it a lot. And in 2 years after its operation, it became #1 in the hotel. And just 2 weeks ago, it was announced #1 hotel in the world also for the 3rd consecutive year.
Not only is he the richest Arab, he might as well be the fittest.
Yeah, you know, I'm very believe in athletics and I believe in sports. Every day I do at least 2 hours sports, you know, and here.
He is also famous for working around the clock and survives on 5 hours of sleep a day. Of course, a James Bond lifestyle.
So we're on our way now to the Prince's yacht, which featured in a James Bond film. Before we meet the man himself, it's worth putting His Royal Highness's shareholding in perspective. Rupert Murdoch owns 12% of News Corporation. Prince Alwaleed owns 7%, so he's an incredibly powerful voice in the company. What's more,
because he invests in all 5 continents, his view is no country is perfect.
What do you see that's wrong in the West when it comes to business? What do we do wrong? What could we do better?
There's no one country perfect, and Croatia went through major difficulties. You know, when it took independence in 1991, it was not easy. Also, it came through hard work. And last 6 years, that's politically, economically. Also, last 6 years, you face difficulties because the whole world faced difficulties, not only Croatia.
His foundation focuses on women's rights.
And God will judge you based on your choices. And no, it's not what someone will dictate on you to do. That's number 1. Number 2, when it comes to women driving, I don't think it's a tradition. Women used to ride horses, camels, even women used to drive when cars first came. I think it was introduced to us in a taboo way by closed-minded mindsets, and in my opinion, it's going to go away gradually, but women have to voice out their concerns. They have to. They have to gather as a certain mass and
You're proud of her? Yes?
Very proud of her, doing a good job to advance the cause of Saudi women and Saudi Arabia in general, yes.
And Saudi Arabia would be a better place if women had a more participatory place in the government and in society and in the culture.
Any society that has 50% of its population idle cannot advance. Yeah. No way. No way. And ladies are not better than men, but they're not worse. They're equal.
Yes.
His next ambitious project, the Jeddah Tower. This will be the tallest building in the world. His view on the time bomb.
In Saudi Arabia, clearly there's a clock ticking. The oil is running out, and America is beginning to pump out more and more oil. And
there's a very good question. It is very clear that the dependence of the United States on oil, and even the Western world, is diminishing. Actually, the United States is on the verge of being not only oil-sufficient country, but also being an oil exporter. So clearly, the dependence on oil is going to diminish because of the discoveries that are happening on oil and gas, classical oil and gas, and also the production in shale oil. So it's very important for the OPEC countries, and especially Saudi Arabia in this case, to have less dependence on oil. As it stands today, 92% of our budget depends on oil, which is really, it's a time bomb.
What have I learned today? Prince Alwaleed is the new progressive voice in the Middle East. At age 62, he's going to lead in the 21st century. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave your comments and questions below. My next video will be 10 lessons of Prince Alwaleed. Wishing everyone peace and prosperity.